welcome back to Take One, and today we're reviewing Sinners. With me, we have director, producer Michael Wright, director, actor Blake Drivas, and producer, hip-hop rapper extraordinaire SB.
Appreciate it.
You guys, I thought this movie was fucking phenomenal.
Oh yeah, it's been like honestly a while since like I went to movie theaters. Like, man, like this fucking makes me excited.
Right.
You know, it's like.
You know what it kind of reminded me of? Like, I don't know if you guys ever saw From Dusk Till Dawn.
That's a big comparison a lot of people have been saying about it.
It's like, it felt like a good revamped blues style version of From Dusk Till Dawn.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Guys, let me know your thoughts. What were your thoughts on the film?
I think that like the critics and audience members got it right. It was like what last I checked, like up in the 90s or something like that. Yeah, like it's been kind of a while since like I went into like a movie theater and when I was like fucking hype, man. It's like that was great, dude. Like it's sweet.
It's just it's a damn good movie.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's fun.
It's fun. It's fun. It's got a little for
well, thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, I know. That's pretty much the whole like review right there. I guess what more is us to say that everyone else is like talking about? I guess it's damn. Yeah, I really want like because I have a friend who plays the blues a lot, and so I still need to take him to it, and but he would just like. It would be awesome for him. I would love to see like his reaction as well because music is a big part of what happens in the movie. And I think a big thing was that during the times that's when the blues like first came out, and as well as like what the title means of like Sinners, like going out having a good time, especially in these like trying times of what was it 1939. Yeah, I mean, basically when slavery was abolished, but Jim Crow laws still existed, and I might need to rebrush up on some history or watch some other like people for it as well. But people, and that's the big thing about what was going on in the movie. Michael B. Jordan and Michael B. Jordan are playing two characters.
They both did good.
And so they get their little cousin who's extremely like good blues player, but also as the son of a preacher, and so a disapproving father who doesn't want his son to go out and play for a bunch of drunkards and philanthropists, and as well as like the style of like what blues meant, at least to him. And the blues could mean a lot to a bunch of people. I think to someone, and it's the classic like, oh, rock is the devil's music, right? Like kind of thing. And so
well, because I mean, there's the old I forget what it was, like the crossroads where you like sell your soul to the devil or whatever to the music. Yes. It's a very fun
spin on that. Yeah, that was like his crossroads. At the end, he still went and did the music. He didn't let go of that guitar.
Yeah, I honestly like that. I don't remember where they filmed that last scene at. That's probably one of my favorite last scenes. But it's like, damn, makes me want to go back to like Nashville. I don't know if you went to like the BB King like bar thing. They've got some great like blues music.
You talking about the last scene or the last scene?
The last.
A lot of people walked out.
I know.
Half the audience kind of walked out when we went to see it.
The last scene, and like, I mean, I don't know. I usually want to have before we like talk about spoilers or whatever.
Oh yeah, should we have spoilers or should we just keep?
I mean, they should have seen it by now.
Yeah.
All right, we'll just do. We'll count it down for spoilers. So 3, 2, 1.
Yeah. So, I mean, the end scene for sure. Like, right when also on, you know what? I'm saying I'm Team Vampire. You know what?
There's a couple people in another podcast I watch. There's one person who was Team Vampire as well.
I guess I appreciate that. They're kind of like, we cool. Yeah, we cool at the end. And they, just let him live. Like, I don't know. I think I fucking love that. Like, he chose like, yeah, fuck it. I'm gonna go with like, the blues legacy. Like, I'm just gonna be like super famous and shit. But I like that one, and I really, really fucking love the scene. Like halfway through when he's like starting to play, you have all these fucking different cultures like just coming in, and like the whole place is going crazy. If there's anything that I would have wanted in this film is I would have wanted more of that. I would have wanted just shit to go fucking bonkers. I want like crazy ass shit, right? Because I mean, you already got vampires and shit. I just want like the building to come down. Like I just love when all these different like people from different timelines and all that stuff are
Are
coming.
you talking about during that music scene?
That was great. That was
amazing.
That was my favorite scene. Yeah,
that's probably my favorite scene. As well.
So cool
that they intermix basically through all periods of African music, and they even added like Asian, South Asian
other cultures.
I feel like that's one of the main themes of the film itself. It's basically the commodification of the originality for the sake of unity. So you have that with the religion, and you have that with the vampires themselves. That instead of like basically diluting originality for the sake of conformity and unity.
Well, speaking of originality, I do like the, I guess, unique take that they took with the vampires. I feel like very often this kind of just brushed over, like they got to be invited in and all that.
Yes.
I love that that's like a big premise.
That's like the classic.
Yeah, and like the way that they kind of like leap down and all that. It's just kind of an interesting design with their eyes.
Did you guys? Yeah, I was going to ask you guys about the vampires' nature and effect. Did you guys like the fact that they went to the classic stereotypical vampire, or since like the fact that like everything was original, would you want like an original take on those vampires?
I think they kind of did an original take on the stereotype.
They did a little bit of both.
Yeah,
you have the classic rules: garlic, sunlight, need to be invited in. But also, I guess a big thing would also be like if you had if you hold a cross to it. The only other character to really have that was the Asian woman who had a cross necklace. So I don't know if that affected them, but when at the end before the sun's coming up, Preacher Boy, he's reciting one of the verses. Earlier from the scene, while how do you pronounce his name? Raminik, the Irish
guy,
the
Irish vampire, and the vampire was actually reciting it with him, and so there's a thing of like how maybe that sort of aspect doesn't affect him because he was, and I need to brush up my history of like what happened to the Irish when they had that little dispute with England throughout history. But essentially, like he was sold into slavery like from times before as well, and was forced to convert to Christianity as well. And so then if he's a vampire afterward, would that have affected him or before? It's very interesting.
I think he just wanted his music, man. That's the part that I like. It's like, I don't even care about anyone else in the bars. Like, you got some good music. We heard that shit. We want you to come.
Right. Yeah. And he was willing to say like, hey, listen, we'll let you all go. We just want.
Yeah. Listen, Team Vampire, they're reasonable, right?
I was trying to figure out the significance of the vampire being attracted to the music, and like, was that like a symbolism for like the record labels and the artists?
That's a good way to think about it.
And then they mix in the KKK with it. I ain't gonna lie, when I walked out, I was like, I can't see white people for a couple of days. I made sure my new doctor was black.
But that's even the beginning of the movie.
Right,
when the guy was talking about like basically how the segregation of music was that like they like our music, they just don't like us.
Yeah,
and I think that was the whole thing that when even like that Irish guy infected, people within the Klan,
right? And
they stood by and they wanted to take the music,
right?
That's a very interesting.
And I mean that was true too with like rock and roll, right? Like they had to wait till fucking Elvis for like white people to be like
exactly.
Into it,
even though like people were doing it way before that.
Right.
I guess in terms because at the beginning, going back to actually the amazing scene where all time seemed to have culminated together into one section. It's they talked about it at the beginning. The lore is that like people with like inherent musical talents basically can pierce through the past and future to where everyone could like unify and like come together. But that also brings evil as well. It brings good with like community of people, but also can bring bad.
And I feel there's a certain truth to that. I feel like music can touch you in a way spiritually that I don't think very few. I'm going home.
I'm just playing my back.
I think it like can interact with you in a certain way that like very few mediums can. I mean, art too in general. I feel like there's something like inherently like spiritual and primal to music.
Yeah,
indeed. And so then I guess could forces beyond our understanding, like vampires and evil spirits. Do they have a say in that as well? Obviously, they do.
Yeah, I think they wanted that music.
Yeah, well, I mean, like,
can you blame them?
It reminds me of some like Devil Went Down to Georgia shit.
Right, because I mean that is like a big thing that I think it like was the inspiration for it.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
okay,
yeah. But then like the crossroads and all that stuff, you know.
Yeah, it was originally supposed to be a Blade.
Yeah, I know you mentioned
prequel.
that.
Yeah, and ultimately. Marvel passed on it because it was too violent.
Because it was too good. Marvel's like, nah, we usually do shit.
Well, it was because that too, but it was because it was too violent with having to do. Which that's a main thing. Like how you doing with vampires that have to do with blood that you can't. You can dance around. You can dance around.
It was very funny. The movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So
it was, but Preacher Boy was supposed to be like the OG Blade. That's what the thing was originally, and so how Blade was supposed to get his powers initially. And Marvel passed on that because it was rated R, and then a year later they then like greenlit Deadpool and Wolverine. Yeah. So there's a what's it called when you say something?
I'm glad that it wasn't. I mean,
I feel like it would have completely changed the film.
Oh, definitely.
Nothing wrong with like Blade. I actually like Blade. I just think it's better. Now, I will say I do hope that they don't make it into like a series or anything like that. I don't think that they were like hinting at that. I do like the ending. I do like. I always just like an open-ended ending in general. But I do like the fact that like the vampire's like, we're not gonna like turn you or whatever, but we kind of just want to
vampire too.
Yeah, it's like we're homies. We're just hear one more song.
My thought at the first ending was right before they all died.
Right.
They didn't know to like go inside or anything. Yeah. They just was like, we just gonna sit here and die right here in front of like in front of the sun instead of like, find shelter. But I guess, it's just
maybe they're too busy. They weren't looking.
They were so focused on
their clocks.
Well, I think how it works, and this is how it's different. It's slightly different, or at least you don't see it a lot in other vampire medium. It's a hive mind. So Ramrick is the one really like controlling everyone, and they mention it as well. The voodoo woman mentioned it as well because Stack. Smoke was the red one, Stack was the blue one, right?
I think so.
Okay, so Stack would say like, oh shoot, what if we kill the head vampire? Will it free everyone else? It would free them under their control, but there would still be a vampire.
Right.
And at that point, it's still like there is a primal evil as a vampire that one like your brother is already dead.
Yeah.
Like, so there would be no point in just wanting to kill the head vampire and just trying to do the.
Also, another cool, fun scene was like when they're all doing the jig.
Yeah.
That's funny.
It's so high. And actually, like, if you saw like Michael B. Jordan was getting into it. He was like ready to go to war. I was watching like.
I know this sounds really silly, but like when we kind of got to that point, it honestly kind of reminded like a regular show episode. Shit just goes crazy.
Well, because that's the thing. It actually like happened because in the beginning, it's like actually I haven't seen Dusk Till Dawn, but I believe
me either.
It's pretty much very similar to where there's one plot happening and then halfway through suddenly vampires.
Yeah, that's essentially what it is.
Because the first part of the movie is more a period drama of getting characters together and establishing a new business, but also the drama of which Smoke and Stack acquired their capital and what enemies they kind of like made along the way.
All the performances phenomenal. Otherwise, Michael B. Jordan isn't going to get both leading and supporting actor nominations.
He should.
Well, because I think
can he?
Preacher Boy,
that's a good question.
Because Preacher Boy would be the supporting actor, and I think it's also it's a technical thing as well. It's one of those things. It's like, oh, you have a clone or a brother, and you got two people playing the same character. How do you credit that? How they do it in like Lemony Snicket's series?
What do you guys think of the overall pacing of the film prior to the main draw of the film?
Me, I think just because of we was already expecting to see the vampires, so then at the beginning of the movie, we just kind of like just waiting on the vampires.
Except for that one person went into completely blind. It's like, what the fuck was vampires?
Yeah,
I had no idea.
Yeah. I took a friend to it, and she said Blake, is this a horror movie? It's just like I don't think she's seen any trailers. Maybe she saw the
Yeah, because
poster.
if you don't see any trailers, you wouldn't
But a
know.
movie called Sinners. I mean, like, you're already put like half of the other genres away once you hear that title, and you can probably make an educated guess on like what it could be. I don't know.
Yeah. I thought the pacing was pretty good in the beginning. I thought it was like, that is very simple plot, but it's like great way, like just character piece. We're getting all these characters together. It's like we're just gonna have a big party. You have all these interesting characters. I think probably my two favorite characters was Cornbread and the dude that plays the harmonica. I thought they were all
He
really
was
fun.
very funny.
Yeah. Cornbread had me laugh.
Togetherness. We all need to be one and the same.
The one part I didn't get was because I thought it was in the middle of the day when we first see the vampire running from the natives. It looked like it was in the middle of the day. And
the sun
not,
was
like,
setting.
Yeah, it was setting.
Oh,
But
okay.
he was already like
You can see him
on
burning.
fire.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's the point. So back to your question, the pacing. I think because as everyone's got everything together, and once the scene goes to Ramrick basically jumping down, you see him burning in the light, approaching the nephew of the KKK or the
Yeah. It's like the nephew.
like
Or the son.
That's
Because at first when he was burning, like, all right, he's Irish, and they're not known
When I was in the movie, I saw the little because they gave you a little quick flash of the little KKK suit. I was like, hold on. I was like, hold on,
Excuse
what
me?
happened?
Yeah, I knew that some. Ooh, she's so good.
No, you couldn't go into South back then.
Yeah.
No.
I like how at first it was kind of weird that they just get everybody's memories and stuff like that, and then but I did like how they warned him that tomorrow they coming for you anyways, and then he was ready for him. I just don't like how he basically said it's like he wanted to die a little bit, but he just wanted to make sure he took him with him.
Yeah, I think so. Because he kind of lost everyone, and I forget her name, but I guess his love interest or whatever, mentions like, well, you have your child
gotta kill
waiting
me.
for you.
Oh,
Yeah,
are you
yeah,
talking
yeah.
are you talking about?
True. Okay.
Are you talking about Ramrick or are you talking about Stack?
Stack.
Oh,
When he killed all the KKK.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, we got to kill all of them.
Because I think that was the idea. Because that was the trunk. They had the trunk in
Yeah.
the car, like at the beginning. They knew that some shit was going on. I think they knew that the guy they bought it from was the Grand Dragon, and it was just Smoke and Stack were going to pull up and kill everyone.
Well,
anyway.
he warned him on the spot too. Like, hey, if I even see one of you guys,
right.
it's on site.
Yeah, he did, and they did warn them about that. So I think they were prepared,
Yeah.
if that was the case. And like if it was Smoke and Stack cleaned up, it's just like now Smoke. I imagine Smoke always has to kind of save Stack's ass every once in a while, and now it's like, oh shit, now I got to do all this myself.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
I do like too that because I wasn't expecting Stack, right? Was the vampire one at the end? I wasn't.
Smoke was the Smoke got turned into a vampire.
Okay, I wasn't expecting Smoke to survive. I like that. Is like how she survives. Like I couldn't kill him. I had to just as long as you don't go after him, then we're all good. So
What do you guys think is the overall message of the film?
There's a lot. There's a couple messages as
Yeah.
well that have to do with.
I do like your take on the music industry. I didn't think about that. I think that's a fun one for
That
sure.
as well. That's actually a funny thing because once he maybe you could see as Smoke sees Preacher Boy back when he's a lot older, he still gives him a chance at like, hey, sign with me. At this point, he's like, I've done enough on my own. I think I'm good, and it's like respect to that. That's an interesting take. It also, like I said, it also is history that I've not brushed up on, and so a lot of the stuff in dealing with the South during that time period with racial segregation, as well as how people viewed other people who are considered white now but weren't really white back then, like the Italians and the Irish. It's definitely a lot of history in regards to that. But as well as like what community can kind of build, because it's one thing to where they said like, oh, why do you have the Chinese helping you, and why do you have this mixed white passing girl here, but you don't want to let us good folk in. And so there's something to be said also about a sense of community but also like keeping it like close to yourself depends on how much like you want to let out or how close you want to bring it to. I don't really have much like community with myself or my family, so I wouldn't really know, but I definitely other people have a sense of you know how many people they want to invite to the cookout or whatnot.
Right.
You know what I mean? Cultural community as well. You know, being friends with other people of other cultures, but then like how involved do you want them to be? Like, if I'm dating, my girlfriend's Latina. If I was met her like sooner, am I invited to her quinceañera or not?
Right.
You know, and that's probably a lot. Like I said, it's probably a lot more that's lost on me that I have to do some more research on it. But like I said, I never really had a strong sense of community growing up or as of now to really like relate to that. So I recognize that, but
yeah, so I just looked up. I probably should have done it beforehand, but the director Ryan
Coogler,
yeah, I didn't realize. Yeah, he's definitely worked with
Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah. This is the first project of his that I've seen, but I know he's worked with Michael B. Jordan before.
Yeah.
Fruitvale Station. That's the first like thing. Black Panther.
I did see Black Panther.
Yeah.
Judas and the Black Messiah.
Oh, he did that?
I wanted to see that though.
Yeah.
He
did that?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, yeah.
I heard it's really
Creed.
good.
I heard this was
Creed. Creed.
I heard this was one of the first movies Michael B. Jordan was really talking a lot.
Yes, because every other like thing that he's written and done was like either established or for Disney or another like company. Like Creed is also like based off Rocky, so he has stuff to work with on that. Fruitvale Station is based off a real life event, and Black Panther, working for the mouse, and so this is probably his first like original thing.
Did he write it?
I believe
Maybe
so.
like co-wrote it.
Yeah, I think he did write it. Like I said, he was originally supposed to be a Blade prequel. Wrote it to Disney. Disney didn't like it. Then showed it to Michael B. And that brings because he works with Michael B. a lot.
Yeah.
So basically, it's like, oh shoot, if I can't do it with Disney, maybe me and Michael could do something with it.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, they did.
Yeah, they're great. The lighting too, I think it's fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
They did some great stuff with the lighting. I'm like, I really have to think about stuff that like I didn't like. You know?
That's one of those movies you can go back to.
Right, I
would
would
probably miss some things you could go back to.
It's definitely gonna be a classic.
Yeah,
for sure.
Easy.
It's definitely gonna be one of those that like a lot of people are gonna like buy.
Talk about it 10 years down the
get
line.
Blu-ray and stuff.
And it's definitely like raised the bar in terms of what movies are and what they should be and what you can do, especially with an original project.
Yeah.
It's just fun. It's just fun.
But like we said, Hollywood. I mean, original projects can still get people going.
Oh, indeed.
Yeah.
And now then Hollywood is like, oh shit, that worked.
Let's
first
remake
time.
it.
Yeah, let's remake it. And
Get ready for Sinners 4, baby.
Yeah, and that brings back to what you were saying earlier. You don't want to like. It would probably be good if it was just a one and done. We don't want any sequels. So I heard one other review said like they would probably want like a spin-off. Maybe see what if Stack did survive, or we see like Smoke.
Honestly,
operating.
I feel like it should be just a one and done.
Yeah,
I'm hoping that rather than that, people will be inspired to do like a unique, creative idea like they did with this. So that's kind of the main hope.
It's one of those main things, like The Thing. Like once you introduce something unique like that, and it was pretty much close ended. Like, do you really need a sequel to that?
Right.
So, what do you guys feel like something that could have been improved or expanded upon?
I'd say like I really really enjoyed the pacing of like the first half. I do think that like just like here and there like little minor things that would maybe trim off like 5 minutes, but not really that big of a deal. The only thing that like I felt like we kind of went just a little bit too long on like when they have the certain group of people that are inside the barn and they're like kind of just bickering between each other. Some it just felt like we're kind of just dragging on just a little bit too long. And then some people are like, no, all goes. It's like, no, all goes. Like,
I mean, I see where it come from, maybe, but I kind of like it. It gives more to the characters because all the characters are setting up to kind of like die or try to survive the vampires. That's the whole purpose of the beginning. To then bring them to the juke joints, to then like have the sense of community and see what each person brings to the table. But I don't know, like with them having bickering as well, it gives them more personality and more to latch on to.
I guess
to where that when they do die, or which characters like do what, you then like feel for them more.
Yeah. I guess I've just seen it before. Like, I would have preferred them to, like, again, just go more like fucking off script and wild with, like, you know, the kind of crazy stuff with the people from different, you know, generations and all that. I would have went, you know, because you can get away with that. They're vampires. So you can have some crazy shit like that. I think I just would have wanted to go a little bit more like balls to the walls craziness and a little bit less of the interpersonal. I do also enjoy too that, like, you know, Bolt, Smoke, and Stack, they're like morally great characters. You know, they're like beating up that dude at the in the corner and all that. Or one of them was, and the other one was, you know, wasn't you know.
Yeah, they were rough, but like at that time you just needed to be.
Right. I mean, I guess you could say that they're, you know, like they were all sinners.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah. But you guys, anything you would?
What was the question again?
So, like, was there something that you wanted to expand on, or like, what was something that you didn't particularly like?
Well, something I wanted to expand on a little bit was it would have been cool just to see a little bit of them leaving Chicago, or them kind of like, well, if they talked about the plan, it probably wouldn't have helped as much. But one thing I didn't like was the Chinese lady. She basically said, come on in.
and that's what a lot of people said as well. And so, but, you know, I had this talk with my girlfriend as well as seeing it all on social media. But, you know, if you're a parent, especially a mom, and the corpse of your husband is talking to you and saying that, like, hey, we're going after your daughter next if we don't get to, you know, you or the rest of the people in this building right now. And so then she's going to be, yeah, Mama Bear activate mode. She at least is going to try and kill as many people as possible.
All right, tell you what, you can go ahead and do that. We're just going to push you.
No, but they didn't, but, you know, and it's also, but it goes back to like a sense of community and family to where like, they're just not going to like throw her out there to the wolves. They still, like, it's a bit of a crazy situation. They only really had, you know, 5 minutes in an Irish jig to try to like make a decision.
Yeah.
So, but also like in a thing, it's like, you know, that they have to fight vampires. This is an excuse to try to fight the vampires somehow.
I mean, if I really had to there was a couple times that like he probably needed to like reload or like.
Oh, definitely. Oh yeah, they were
at the end.
No. At the end was fine, but like when he was like dual wielding, just kind of like in the middle point. There was one. I mean, again,
he was
like,
how was the gunplay for you guys? Since you guys are both
gunplay was great.
Yeah.
Maybe just needed a reload or two, but other than that,
the best gunplay is really like the ones that you kind of just I'm not paying attention to, which was great. I don't know if they were using. They're probably doing like a little bit of blanks with enhancing CG, but again, it's to the point where like you have that kind of like fuck you money, you can make your CG look good.
They're Michael B. Jordan was training at the Terrence Tactical place where John Wick trained. Yeah. And so they were using the period accurate weapons. And so not that I don't know if they were using blanks during the training or
I guess what I'm saying is
live ammunition, but he was definitely very familiar with how the weapons operated.
Yeah. And if they weren't using blanks, then they did a good job at CG is what I'm saying.
Okay.
There was that one scene where like with the 1911 where he like runs out of ammo and you hear like the click. Yeah, I mean obviously you need it for the audience, but the actual 1911
doesn't click. Yeah. And that's probably my biggest criticism of it as well. But we're
yeah, it's very very niche in that regard. I do like the shootout at the end because it's like, oh wait a minute, in the poster he has like a Tommy gun. Wonder when he's going to use. Oh, there we go.
There you go.
That was fun.
Yeah.
So when it comes to weaponry, like
actually,
out of 10, how accurate is it?
Pretty damn accurate. And I was just thinking about too. I don't know if it was a decision on the director's part, but it could have been a sign that it was a blank. But the BAR, he was going semi-automatic. Now that could just be for decision Cube wants to make his shots because he only has a certain amount. But it could mean if it's a real gun, it's difficult to get a fully auto one. So it could have been the fact that it was a semi-auto.
He was using a fully auto one in the
Thompson
while training. with Terrence Stamp.
Oh.
Maybe not in the actual like movie, but he did get a BAR.
Okay,
And
then that's even better because that's the decision that the director make is like, hey, he's only got 20 rounds in there, just go semi, and and that way you can.
Because he was sniping like half of them first, and then pulled up with the typewriter.
Right.
Actually, and I
that's
think
my favorite part.
Yeah.
when was the Thompson?
It's the 20s.
The 20s?
Yeah,
okay, and it takes place in 1930.
Yeah, so
he would have one.
Yeah.
Okay, that was...
Especially because he was like a gangster from Chicago. They had plenty of those.
Okay, and I think it was implied that they at least got some stuff, or at least maybe did a little bit of service in World War I.
Yeah.
But that's what they were inclined. They said they fought the Germans.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Shoot.
So, guys, let me know your guys' final thoughts and your rating. For me, I think this is a must-watch. It's a contender, definitely a movie of the year. I would give it a 9 out of 10.
9.5 out of 10. Everything you said, 9.5 out of 10.
Best movie released this year so far, and we're like not even halfway through the whole year, and it might just stay there.
Yeah.
Shoot, I don't know if there's anything like I did improve upon it, but I think it is a solid 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
Wow. Okay. I'm gonna have to go with Mike. 9.5. Yeah. I'm interested to see what else he comes out with.
Yeah, for sure.
I heard he got the bag.
Yeah.
After this, so I'm definitely interested to see what.
What's the reason why for the 0.5?
I like how it went into like the hoodoo or voodoo a little bit, but me as like someone who's very spiritual, I kind of wanted a little bit more of that. But I mean, I like how they did it, but like just me, if I can say anything, I just would have kind of liked a little bit more of that, and then also when the guy who played a harmonica, when the Chinese lady gave him up, he sacrificed himself for no reason because it was in there anyway. So it was just a couple parts that was like.
I think they would have all come up the stairs. So instead of getting like 10 vampires going up the stairs, he can get like 20 or most of the group, and then the rest of them can like.
So you feel like his sacrifice was like needless?
Yeah, because it was almost time for the Because by the time they actually made it out in the water. Like, the light came, and then, he ain't let go of that guitar, but...
I'll piggyback off Shebastian, meaning, like, I agree with the voodoo element, right? Because you could have really had, like, a voodoo twist on the vampires, but we got more of the traditional European vampires that we see in every vampire thing. And I thought that with introducing that element... I don't think they did enough.
Right, because in the beginning, too, with like the little animation thing, like, hey, every single culture kind of has the same different, thing of it. Also, I mean, kudos to them. I'm assuming that they actually played the instruments. I don't know if like there's kind of a prerequisite beforehand or they kind of like went for certain actors that are already good. But I mean, they did a damn good job with, harmonica, piano, guitar, that one lady singing. I think they all did a great job.
I think they are. That's why I want to bring my friend. I mean, we could also look it up. But since my friend is big in the blues, I think he would be a good judge to see like, he's playing a C note instead of a D note.
I'd say keep an eye out for the soundtrack.
Oh yeah,
the soundtrack. That's
definitely going to have to be a must buy. Well, guys, thank you so much for showing up for the review. If you guys have any plugs, put them in right now.
It's Gorilla Underground Productions. That's Gorilla, like the fighting style, not the animal. Underground Productions, just one word. Instagram, Facebook.
Blake Drivas on Facebook and everywhere else. Blakes.pov on Instagram.
S. Burley, TBJR. Make sure y'all check out the album coming out soon. KMO. Real estate agent. Make sure you hit up me or Gio. You know what I'm saying? Since you 21, BE3. Got a lot going on.
Things.
Go to burleysalesflorida.com. Let's get it.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for showing up, and we'll catch you on the next one.
That's it.
Yes, sir.